Hello, Riven mains and Yasuo mains alike. I am the Nightwing, Way of Life Esports, coming at you guys with another League of Legends video. So, a lot of people on the channel seem to be fans of a lot of the teams, which is actually pretty good. I like meeting fans of different teams. I like meeting, fans of different perspectives on how their team should perceive success. I know for a damn fact there is a lot of TSM fans on this channel, and that happens. They have one of the biggest fan bases, but like I said before, it's not just TSM. If an org actually, has a problem with certain things that I don't think are right, I'm gonna voice my opinion on it. Whether or not it could be wrong, I'm still gonna talk about it. Yeah, let's just forget how they ruined Spica's career. Yeah, let's just forget that. But things like that are going to irk me, and I'm gonna tell you why they irk me. Now, you can talk about how bad my teams are. You can do that. But that's not going to stop me from talking bad about your team. You see how that works there? But since there are a lot of TSM fans on this channel, there's quite a bit of Cloud9 fans, there's quite a bit of Fnatic fans, there's a lot of fans of the Western teams, which I like. There are a lot of SKT fans since they are the most popular Western Asian team. And I like SKT too. I think they really did shape and develop League of Legends, despite people saying that, the scene was a lot weaker when they won, so it doesn't really matter as much. No, it really does matter. You see how much pressure SKT had to win Worlds 2019? Yeah, it doesn't matter if the scene was bad back then. It doesn't matter because the scene has gotten overall a lot better in terms of, a lot of players being brought up. A lot of better players are on better orgs. The leagues are a lot better in terms of how they structured how their teams play. LCS don't really count us as good. We're just garbage. But let's talk about the 100 Thieves roster. There seems to be a lot of 100 Thieves fans on the channel, and they want me to talk about this team. Okay, and I'm going to say this right now as for all of my team videos, and I think I've covered that in the Team Liquid video, but I'm going to say this one more time. I am a person, and I'm going to say this one more time. I have real opinions. I don't sugarcoat anything. If I see a player is bad or I see a player is good, I'm going to say that. And if I have frustrations and concerns with past things, I'm going to voice that. I'm not some sugarcoating guy who's going to be like, well, everything is rainbows and sunshine. It's not going to happen. You're not going to get that from me. If you want that, you can just get the fuck out of here because that's not going to happen. So now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about 100 Thieves. So 100 Thieves had a pretty bad year last year. Is that pretty fair to say? No one can disagree with that. They had a pretty bad year last year. I mean, they went the whole rookie year as an org does. They kind of get their feet in. They build a lot of fans. They do a lot of really good things to really get the fans going. Then they do a bad move because that's what new orgs do. They do kind of bad moves like the whole Medios Levi thing. And then after that, you come into 2019 with a lot of hype because they buy Bang, they buy CLG's ex-mid laner Huhi, and they put them back together with Alphamute, so they reunited that duo as well. You have a roster of, Someday and Bang and Afro and Huhi, and you have Onda, and a lot of people have this expectation that they're going to be, third place? I had them at third place in spring season power rankings, and I had them at, I think, 7th. Correct me if I'm wrong. You can go back and watch that video. I had them at 7th, basically, in coming into summer. There were so many problems the roster had, but now moving into this year, what can they improve on to make it better than last year? I do believe this is a better roster than last year, just from a 100 Thieves standpoint. I think that, you look back at Medios, ever since Medios left, this team failed to make playoffs. That's just, without a fact, 100% correct. You looked at Medios left. I don't really count that split that Medios left because they were already pretty much solidified in first place. The next year, both splits without Medios, they don't have any success. That's just what it is. You look at Someday, he had to play Academy because of the bad issues that Sligo couldn't hold mid lane, so they had to bring up Fake God, but now in this year, they're able to bring up Someday, which I think is going to be a lot better in terms of the team being able to count on a solid rock of a top laner. Now, I do believe there's going to be some issues with how this team is going to function, but I'm going to go down player to player first. So let's just start with Someday. So Someday had to play Academy last year, where he pretty much just hard smurfed on everybody. I'm pretty sure that's fair to say. There was, times where He was visibly trolling, like on like Yasuo picks or something like that. I don't really remember because no one really remembers NA Academy, but from what the games I did manage to watch, he was pretty much just toying with his opponents. It's kind of funny seeing that, but other than that, looking at his LCS performance, he didn't even really have that good an LCS performance, even when the team was struggling. Now, that is not going to obviously be his fault, because that's just how certain rosters are. You can't just blame one player. It's obviously going to be a team-wide aspect, but individual performance, he did not play that good, and I want to make sure people understand that. You can watch the games if you want and disagree, but that means you're just delusional. So, will he be one of the better top laners in the NALCS? Yes, he will, because at one point he was, considered the best top laner in the LCS? It's kind of really rare you see a top laner from North America considered MVP. Remember, all the way back in summer 2018, who were the MVP candidates? Licorice and Someday. It's very Doublelift too. It's also very rare that you see top lane MVPs. I think that's just a very rare thing among the MVP category amongst the major competitive regions in LCS, LEC, LPL, and LCK. So I thought that was really good out of him, that he showed a lot of people that you can be a MVP level top laner. So can he get back to that MVP level performance? I think that Someday's performance really, really depends on meta. And I know you can say that about a lot of other players, but you can tell the difference between Someday in there's carry top laners and then there's tank top laners. But if it's a mixture of both, I feel as if he's going to be one of the best top laners in. And if I was doing top laner power rankings, I would have him at probably somewhere between the top 4. I think that's very fair to say for him, because putting him anything lower past that is kind of just not correct. So for Someday, I feel like this is good. This is an upgrade. I mean, you can't really debate that. And then I hope he actually gets back to his 2018 MVP form. I really thought he had a really bad year in 2019, but going back to this year, there's a different squad with him. Meteos is without a doubt one of the best NA junglers. Him and Crown were pretty much hard carrying Optic dead corpses around the map. I mean, that's a pretty fair assumption that I would say. Now, looking at how he will pair with Ryuma, we've heard a lot of stories that Meteos does not really synergize very well with various mid laners. He talked about how he didn't really synergize well with Crown, and I do believe that the meta is going to be severely dictated by how a lot that it was dictated by last year. You guys notice how League has basically changed to the point where it's not just a one-man show. It's about, well, if I pair it with my top laner good, then we can carry the game. If I can pair it with my mid laner, then we can pair it up good. If my support and jungler have really good synergy, we can take over a game, potentially get really far in our region. So I don't think that's a Meteos thing. You know what I mean? I don't think that's a Meteos quality. I think I've seen him in enough orgs, in enough teams to go, this guy is a one-man show. But that's a good thing. That's a really good thing, because I think coming into the split, a lot of people are going to have him very highly ranked. I'm actually going to very highly rank him. I think he's going to be at least top 3. So that's going to be very good moving for 100 Thieves. I'm glad he's back on this org, because when he left, it was just, you could obviously see the effect of when he left. And I think that same effect he had when he left is coming back this year. Ryuma. So lucky for you guys, I actually watched that dog shit of a reason that... I said dog shit reason. Lucky for you guys, I watched that dog shit region, Oceania. I did watch for a time to time. I didn't watch for 1 year. So people ask me, why did I watch it even though it's really bad? I mean, this is the aspect I was looking at it from. I'm worse than them. Yes, they are bad, but I'm worse than them. So I can learn something from them, even though they're worse, even though I'm worse than them and they're worse than their competition in the other realm of the world. Yes, they are bad, but there's stuff you can learn from players from Oceania, even though you're a bronze iron 1 solo cube player. This is how it works, you know? But Ryuma actually is pretty good for an Oceanic mid laner. I want to make this clear to a lot of people. It's the same argument I gave with Rogue. Because people asked, why did Rogue not do so well, even though they brought up most of their roster going into summer 2019? You factor in that Rogue lineup was playing against, well, theoretically, their level of competition. So if you up that, they're going to have some issues. And they did for a little bit until they obviously got better. And I think that same thing poses for Ryuma. it's going to be a hard transition going from being one of the best Oceanic mid laners to being one of the best LCS mid laners. People might rag on LCS, but let's be honest here, it is better than Oceania, and that's going to be a tough problem for him. I believe that he can thrive where Saligo didn't, because Saligo was just bad. Like, he's just one of the worst ever. And that's not me shitting on people. That's just like, I've seen way better NA players than Saligo, and I know that's just what I've seen. I'm not a moron. Saligo was just bad. And that fundamentally proves they didn't want to keep him because he's obviously been replaced by somebody else. So I have high hopes for Ryuma in the aspect that I want him to do well. I want a player like him to come over and be really good and actually play his level of the game. He can play carries. He can play your team play as a mid laner should be able to do. I believe your mid laner should be able to be flexible. And I've seen him being able to be flexible enough to the point where it will be good enough to the point where if he can't hard carry, someone else could. Now, this is going to be the bot lane talk. So the bot lane is Cody Sun and Stunt. So Cody Sun came back from Dignitas, Clutch Gaming. He went to Worlds. He's had some pretty bad World performances all the way considered, but his NA LCS performances have been really good. He came after replacing Piglet, and Cody Sun has been an upgrade over Piglet in the way that helped Clutch actually get a lot better, and then later on rebranded as Dignitas. Dignitas was able to make it to Worlds. A large part of that was Cody Sun, and you also must keep in mind the same thing that happened with Meteos. Once Cody Sun left, it didn't look that good for them. Now he's back, and remember, Meteos and Cody Sun obviously came back because Prawley wasn't obviously on the coaching staff, and I'm pretty sure they're never going to speak about this, but that's pretty much an unspoken rule. They came back because Prawley wasn't there. It's no coincidence that Prawley leaves and they both come back. That's just not a coincidence. That's just, if you have a brain, you're going to look at that, you know? Cody Sun is a really good player to a certain extent. I want to preference that because he's really good outside of the lane. Laning phase he can lose, and that's the problem, is that even players like Sneaky have been able to get the better of him because his laning is actually poor. It's kind of funny. People rag on Sneaky's laning phase, but Cody Sun's laning phase is actually worse, and I hate the stats argument, but it does show that. And I think if he can just pair up with Stunt very well, it will work for them. Though Stunt as a player, I'm not really too sold on, though there could be a chance he could be really good in terms of him having a full LCS starting point. He's been on teams like P1, FlyQuest, what other teams was he on? He was a backup for Immortals. He's been around, but he hasn't really got his shot yet. And that's where 100 Thieves can do it well in, because they're developing two players, and I don't think it's a money issue. I think it's that they want to take a chance on developing North American talent. Now, Ryoma's not North American, but if you play in the LCS and you are a mid laner here, I believe you're a North American mid laner. That's just how that works. That's just how citizenship works. If I, as American, move to Europe and go to and I become a Swedish mid laner, that makes me a Swedish mid laner. That's literally how that works. But that's not the debate. But other than that, so let's talk about other things this roster could probably have as problems. There's not really a lot of firepower other than Meteos. I mean, Meteos has proven he can hard carry games, hard solo win you games, but it really is going to be the same setup they had back in 2018, but the meta is quite different now than it was back then. This roster, with three pieces of the same roster that got them to finals back in that spring, I think a lot of people seeing that roster before understand something. It's like, if you see a magic trick more than once, you kind of understand how it's performed. And I'm not saying that's going to be the thing with a lot of people moving into the split, because we obviously know that when the split starts, you're going to have this period where it's just one team will be really well, no one really predicted it, and then at one point in like week 4, they start losing a bunch of games. I think they might be that team. They might be the team that goes like 6-0 between weeks 1 and 5 maybe, and then after that, people kind of figure them out, and once you figure them out, you'll be able to beat them. That might be the roster. That might be the integral roster atmosphere I'm seeing from them, but this could be a playoff team because there's just been other bad North American off seasons moves that North America has made. Obviously, the offseason for North America has not been that good. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who feels that. Please let me know in the comment section below if you actually, feel that North America's offseason was really bad. I thought it was horrible. You have people over here hyping up Evil Geniuses and Immortals. Oh, yeah, because the combination of Soaz and Xmithy is going to be the best ever I've seen, right? Oh, yeah, because Bang and Zayzor are going to be the best bot lane, having never played a competitive game together. Stop it. Mostly people who are fans of Evil Geniuses right now are only doing that because they don't like Cloud9 because they kick sneaky. That's not the approach I would actually give, and that's not what I'm doing because I'm staying with Cloud9 and G2. But if you want to go root for another team, do that. But the people I respect are the fans that stick behind their org no matter what, and all of the 100 Thieves fans stuck by their org. And this is going to be a better year, I feel like, for the organization. How high do I think they could achieve in spring? I have no actual clue because we have to have confirmed rosters before you actually start talking about where they're going to finish macro level. As a macro team, it's hard to really say because this meta is all about early game. They don't really have an early game player besides Stunt and Meteos. And if Ryuma can play his early game style that he did in Oceania, it could work. So, I mean, as a preliminary, pre-power rankings for spring, they're probably going to be the 4th best team. It's not bad. That's really not that bad. I think that they're a good roster. I think there's a lot of firepower in certain spots. It just seems like a very passive roster outside of Meteos, really. But that's just my opinion on it. And that's how I see it. So, see you guys later. Like, comment, subscribe. Most of all, enjoy. I'm the Nightwing, and Way of Life Esports is signing out.